4x squared.
4x squared, yeah. And that really helps in the simplifying here. So it's x times 2x times 4x squared times x. So now you can multiply all the x's and you add up the exponents. The bases are the same, so you're just adding the exponents. What does that become?
One. If like for the 2x, that's just one basically.
Yeah, you got those exponents there you're adding.
So 5 maybe? 5.
Yeah, 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. X to the fifth, what does the 2 times the 4 become?
8.
8. 8, there you go. All right, so the degree is the exponent, is the highest exponent, which in your problem now is 5.
Okay.
All right. So the leading coefficient is the next thing it asks for. The leading coefficient is this number here in front. That is 8. So I don't think this was very clear. Is this the only example you were given in class?
Yeah, I think so. He kind of just gave us that for the period,
All
and
right.
we went over it.
Um, well, we're gonna start with some easier problems because this was not very helpful. So if you got a sheet of paper,
Yeah.
something else, we're gonna do some easier
Yeah.
problems, and then we'll come back to this.
Okay.
This is kind of garbage to start with. So first thing is let's say I give you a polynomial like this one that I'm about to snip in. You have to be able to tell me two things. You have to be able to tell me the degree and the leading coefficient.
Okay.
So the degree is the highest exponent that you see. It's not necessarily the first one you see, it's the highest one that you see. So what is the degree in this problem?
3.
It is 3. And is that odd or even?
Odd.
Odd. So that will later become important. The leading coefficient goes with the highest degree term. So this term right here, what is the leading coefficient? What's the number in front of x?
Uh, the highest one.
The leading coefficient is the number in front of the highest degree term.
Oh, so -7.
Yes. And you already said it, but you need to know whether it's positive or negative. That will also become important. Okay, so here is a new problem for you to try. Get this snipped in. All right. Can you give me the degree and the leading coefficient, please?
Yeah. The degree is 7, and the leading coefficient is -2.
Okay, very good. All right. One more. What do you see here?
Um, 4 and 7 for the leading
Very good.
coefficient.
Very good. You weren't gonna make the classic mistake there. Okay, so that's very good here. All right. So there are now. I'll come back to that. So what we were doing in your problem is that your instructor gave you is what they don't want you to do. And here's an example. What you're not supposed to do is you don't need to multiply. Do not pass go, do not multiply. Um, okay, that is not what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
You're supposed to like recognize what's called the power term of each of these, and it's the highest degree exponent. So this one is x, and this one is x squared.
Okay.
And then you multiply those together. What does that become?
X to the x cubed.
X cubed. So now we could ask the same question. What is the degree? What is the leading coefficient?
Um, so would the degree be 2 then?
The degree is the highest exponent after you've done this manipulation. Because
Okay,
notice
so
this isn't kind of a factored form. This is in called standard form. When it's in standard form, you just look for the one. But when it's in this product form, factored form, you have to then do this manipulation to get the highest degree exponent.
okay. Um, so it'd be 3.
Okay. And what's the leading coefficient?
1.
One. Yeah. And just by the way you answered me on that, it's clear like whatever you did in class didn't really make any sense because
Yeah.
that was the whole point of that example sample question was to be able to do what we're doing now. And you
Yeah.
really need more worksheet exercises like this. So the question would be, it would ask you, what is the degree? What is the leading coefficient? And to do that, you have to pull from each. Okay, I'm an X and then grab an X. I'm going to grab an X. This one is an X, but because there's a square on the outside, you bring that down. What does this become?
X to the 4th.
Okay, so what is the
So
degree? What is the leading coefficient?
it would be 4 and 1.
You got it. All right. So here's one for you to try on your own. We'll increase the difficulty a little bit. Same thing here. What is the degree? What is the leading coefficient?
Okay. So the degree would be 3, 4, 6.
Okay,
Is that right?
that is
And then it would
correct.
just be 1.
Yeah. Okay. So these are kind of your starter questions here. They do get more difficult. Um, so an example of that here is this problem. Step in for you, where they put a number in front. So you have to bring that down. And then this middle one is really X. So you bring that down, but you're cubing it. And then this last one is really an X. You're bringing that down, but then you're squaring it. So same thing here. What is the degree? What is the leading coefficient?
Okay, so it would be 5.
Degree is 5. What is the leading coefficient?
-2.
Negative 2. Yeah. And so all this information is needed to do other things, which you guys are doing, going to get to in class. Um, Trying to find a few more. This isn't exactly what I want, but let me have you try this one here. All right, so see if you can find the degree and the leading coefficient for this one.
Okay. Um, so it would be 4
Okay.
as a degree. And would it just be -1?
Yes, very good. All right, let me. All right, so probably seeing the difficulty isn't too tough now. You're kind of getting a handle on that. So there
Yeah.
there are now four graphs that you need to know for n behavior.
Okay.
All right, and I'm gonna snip in coordinate axis. So here we go. Let me see if I can get these all on one screen. Okay, so there are 4 graphs that you need to know. The first 2 are for even degree. So if the even degree starts high, ends high, or rising and rising, starts low, ends low, falling and falling. Have you seen this before?
Yeah.
Okay. And so for the first one, the leading coefficient, they call it A. A is greater than 0 or positive. For this one, A is less than 0, which is negative. So then you have to be able to write what's called the end behavior. So like as x goes to infinity, f of x goes to infinity. That's this right one here. You have to be able to write this. You have to be able to put that down for a problem. And then the other direction is x goes to negative infinity, f of x goes to infinity. That's the other one here. That's the rising and rising. All right. And then this middle one here, as x goes to infinity, f of x goes to negative infinity. That's the falling over here on the right. As x goes to negative infinity, f of x goes to negative infinity on the left here. So you have to be able to do that for all 4 of these graphs, okay? And so I'm gonna, summarize, put all this down here, but it's your job. You gotta know this stuff. And there's only 4. It's not like it's an infinite list, just 4 graphs. Now the other case is if it's odd. So if it's
Okay.
odd, it either starts low and ends high, starts high and ends low, or you can use that rising and falling language again. This is leading term greater than 0. This is leading term less than 0. And you similarly can write all of the possibilities. As x goes to infinity, f of x goes to infinity. That's the one on the right that's rising. As x goes to negative infinity, f of x goes to negative infinity. As x goes to infinity, f of x goes to negative infinity. As x goes to negative infinity, f of x goes to infinity. And that's it.
Okay.
Lesson over.
Hmm. Should I
Um,
write this down? Or I have some questions.
I would write down, take a picture, something. You're
Okay.
going to need this for the rest of the lesson. I don't really want to go back and
Yeah, I got a
scold you
picture.
for not having nothing. But yeah,
All
this is it. Like this is your reference sheet for this unit.
right. Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
now do some more end behavior problems. Um, and if you
Yeah.
if you don't feel like writing stuff, we can call this 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're not labeled like this, but there's only 4 possibilities.
Okay. All right.
You write fast. I'll give you that. Okay, so here's a sample problem. Um, so all that stuff that we've been doing,
Mm-hmm.
degree and leading coefficient, that's what you have to be able to do here. So you have to say, okay, the degree is 2, that's even. Leading coefficient is 5, that's positive. And then what I recommend you do is draw the graph. You're like, okay, it looks like that and that. And we don't
Okay.
care. Like you don't care what goes on in between. Okay. Um,
Okay.
I didn't really watch any football games yesterday. I started the Michigan Ohio State game, and then later on I just found out that, found out who won.
Yeah.
Um, like that's kind of what's going on here. You don't care what's going on in the middle. You just need to fill this in. So here, just to be clear, like Matthew doesn't remember this stuff down here in the bottom. I remember this graph, and then I know how to write this from the graph. And that's how people learn things. They don't learn like it's not rote memorization. It's like thing leads to thing leads to thing. So,
Okay.
what I'm looking for here is something for you to be able to tell me this in words or write it down correctly. But that's kind of the direction we're going here with these problems is like you write this stuff down and then what is the end behavior? So as x goes to infinity, or you could say to the right, f of x goes to infinity. As x goes to negative infinity, to the left, f of x goes to infinity. I'm okay with words like right, left, rising, rising. I'm okay with that too.
Okay.
Any questions on that before I give you one to try here on your own?
I think I get it.
Okay. So I already kind of tried one of these earlier, but now I'm looking for the end behavior. And again, I would recommend sketching a quick graph, making sure you know.
Okay, so degree is 3, leading -7. Is it just uh is it okay, well, I thought it was gonna be like down, down. Um,
This one, you just said it. It's odd and it's
yeah.
negative. So you go
Okay.
back and you match it up to, you know, whichever
Okay.
one it is, which
Yeah.
happens to be 4.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now can you write or verbally tell me the end behavior? Either is good.
Um, okay, so as um x approaches infinity, f of x approaches negative infinity,
Okay, good.
and as x approaches negative infinity, uh, f of x approaches infinity.
You got it. So tell me what's difficult about this? What would be really challenging, if anything, for this?
Um, I don't know, just matching them up maybe. I don't think
That's
it's
it. You have to know these.
yeah,
There's no way to do it other way until you know these. Um, I mean, I'm big on like reference sheets. I'd be
yeah,
like, yeah, sure, bring in your reference sheets. They've actually
yeah.
done studies where it actually doesn't matter if students have notes or not, their grades are the same.
Hmm.
Um, they did a really interesting study where they gave it was like a 3-hour final exam, um, and they didn't tell the students ahead of time, but they were like the first 1.5 hours or something was no notes, and then halfway like and a bunch of people turned it in, and then halfway through they're like, hey, if you have notes, you can pull it out, and that was one of the studies they did, and actually the grades were no different. So,
Hmm. That's interesting.
but you will not use that to convince your teacher one way or the other. So just go
Yeah.
with that. All right, so this one is the same set of questions that we just did. Um, I want to know, and I'm going to grab this here. Um, I'm looking for the degree, the leading coefficient, the end behavior. This is kind of putting it all together. This is like, okay, you might have to manipulate this equation like we are doing earlier. Um, but give this one a try, please.
Okay, so is it 5 for the degree
It is,
and then 1/10?
right? But what you want to extract from that is even, odd, positive, negative.
Okay, so odd and uh positive.
Yeah. Okay. So Go back and look at your reference if you have it, sketch the arrows in the right place, and then give me
Okay.
the end behavior, please.
Okay. Why is my pencil not working now? Okay. So, okay. So it's as x, should I just tell you the end behavior?
Yep.
As x approaches infinity, f of x approaches infinity.
Okay.
And then as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches negative infinity.
Okay. Now, I've biased you here, but this is very intuitive for most students to do it this direction because X comes before Y. Unfortunately, textbooks and standardized tests, they actually write it this way. They write it in reverse. Uh, and your teacher might do that as well. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I mean, I feel like it's fundamentally flawed, but you as the student need to know this, that you might see it in reverse in your test or your quiz.
Okay.
And I don't make the rules. I just telling you what's out there.
Yeah.
All right. So the next style of question you might get, and we will get back to that sheet that you sent over. Um, it's going backwards, math forward, then backwards. This time, I'm not giving you the function, showing you the graph, and you have to come up with the degree. Now, for now, I'll take even or odd, positive or negative, but later on, you'll be asked to find these exactly. And then here I want end behavior.
Okay.
Give that a try, please.
Sheesh. Uh, well, this is kind of weird. Uh, I don't know. Like, how are we supposed to do it without the numbers?
So go back and look at your reference. What did we say here? Does the interior part matter?
Uh, yeah, thought it did.
Nope. That's why I didn't draw anything in the interior. Like, it doesn't matter whether it looks like this. Oops. It does not matter. It just matters what happens at the end.
Okay.
So what you're supposed to do is visualize this without all the stuff in the middle and match it up to the one that you have.
Okay. So as x approaches,
Give me the degree and coefficient first. Even, odd, positive, or negative.
oh, even.
Okay, and the
Uh,
coefficient.
1.
Positive or negative.
Oh, positive, right?
So just to be clear, like what I'm trying to do is get you to decide which of these four graphs is it. And it's this one here.
Yeah.
And this A is referring to the leading coefficient. So what does it mean? What does this symbol here mean?
Uh, which one? Sorry.
This one right here. What does that mean?
Less than.
So if it's less than 0, is it positive or negative?
Negative.
Okay. So the coefficient here is negative. So that's what I was trying to show you on the right is like you don't actually care what's going on in the middle. This graph on the left is really this one on the right.
Okay.
You don't care what's happening in this middle part. All right, give me the end behavior now, please.
Um, so it would be, let's see. As x approaches infinity, f of x approaches negative infinity.
Okay,
And as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches negative infinity.
very good. Okay, so is it clear now what I'm asking for?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try another here. Um,
Okay. Let's see. So this would be up and then odd,
Okay.
and it would be positive.
All right. So now give me the end behavior.
As x approaches infinity, f of x approaches infinity.
Okay, good.
As x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches negative infinity.
Very good. All right, you're doing great. So we're gonna go back to your the thing you sent over. If I can find it. There it is. Okay. So um, so from earlier, you found that the degree of the problem was 1, 2, 4, 5. You found that the degree was 5, and the leading coefficient was 8, which was positive. So it actually looked like the graph we just did. So if you need to get it down, I don't know if you do, but it's the same as the one we just did. This is the end behavior.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So to do the next problem, we're kind of moving into a different category of things. So here's the original function. It says to uh, identify the zeros of the function along with their multiplicity. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write the following: factor, 0, and multiplicity. And I want you to tell me the rule here. So x, and then 2x plus 3, and then 1, and then 2x minus 8, 4, 2, and then x minus 2, 2, and 1. Okay. Just tell me anything that like you'd see, anything that like you feel like is a trend or like a rule, something you could generalize.
Okay. Uh, I don't know. The multiplicity is, I guess, sort of repeating.
So think about a path here. How do you go from factor to 0? Like how did I go from what's on the left to what's here?
Um, mm, I don't know. I don't. I mean, I assume in the first one x is 0.
Does that work for the next one?
No.
So here's the relationship. To find the 0, you set the factor equal to 0 and solve for x.
Okay.
So when you set 2x plus 3 equal to 0, does that give you minus 3 over 2?
As x equals 0.
Nope. The factor, the whole factor.
Okay. Yeah. I think it does.
How about 2x minus 8 equals 0 and solve for
Um.
x?
Yeah.
Okay, how about x minus 2 equals 0?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the rule. That's how you go from the factor. Now, what are the factors? Well, how did I grab the factors? What did they come from? Maybe this will help.
They're just all the separate terms.
Yeah, they're in parentheses. So factors in parentheses. Now, like the first one wasn't, but it could be. Like you could put parentheses around it, but they have an x. They have to have an x.
Okay.
Right? That's another thing to look for. All right, now the multiplicity, I'm gonna do one thing here, and then I'm going to do this. Tell me about the multiplicity. What is the multiplicity?
Um,
How do you get the multiplicity from the factored form?
oh, that's just the what's the word? You know, the power.
Power exponent.
Yeah,
That's
exponent.
right. Okay, so make some notes for yourself because what I'm going to do next is give you something in factored form and ask you to identify the factor, the zero, and the multiplicity.
Okay, let me do that. Okay.
All right, so here's your new problem here. Let's say it's f of x equals 2x squared, x minus 1 cubed, x plus 3, and x minus 5 to the power 4. We want the factor, the zero, and the multiplicity. Okay.
Okay. All right. So it would be 2x squared for the first factor, right?
Yes.
And then should I just list all the factors?
You?
And then x minus 1, x plus 3, x minus 5.
Right. Very good.
And then let's see. 0. Uh, okay, so if we're trying to get 0, um, I got like 0 over 2 squared.
Okay, so what is 0 divided by 2?
0.
And if you square 0, multiply it by itself.
0.
Okay, very good.
Okay, okay. And then
What's the multiplicity? Well, okay, you can do that at the end. Sorry. Keep going.
1,
Okay.
and then negative 3, and 5.
Okay. And now give me the multiplicity.
2, 3, 1, 4.
All right, so now I'm going to add something else in here called the behavior, which your instructor may use a different word. Um, touch, cross, cross, touch. So here's what I mean by a touch. A touch is where it comes down and just bounces. You can think of it as bounces. That's also another word.
Okay.
It could go, we don't know. You'll learn how to do this, but we don't know which way it's coming from, but it does that. Now, a cross, it literally like comes up and crosses, like it goes above, below, something like that.
Hmm.
All right, so that's this. Now, it comes from the multiplicity. So look at the two that touch, look at the two that cross. Can you identify the rule for whether it touches or crosses based on these numbers?
Yeah. Um, hmm. Like find the rule for it?
Yeah, give me like what you see. Let's say
Okay.
you're coming up
Yeah.
with the math book, what's the rule here?
Let's see. Hmm.
And this is not math, by the way. This is more of like pattern recognition. I'm just curious if you can see what the rule is.
Uh, hmm. I don't know. The ones that touch have a even multiplicity, but I don't know
There
if
you
that
go. There's
really.
the rule. Yep, that's
Okay.
it.
Wow.
So
I didn't know.
cross is odd, touch or bounce is even. You have to remember that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's for the touch, but what's the okay, cross is just odd. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
that's the rule. Okay, so new problem here. All right. So I want you to again give me the factor, the zero, the multiplicity, and then the behavior, the cross touch thing.
Okay. So -3.
-3 is not a factor. What is the requirement for it to be a factor?
I would assume two numbers,
Go
two
back
like
and look. Does it have an X?
oh, right. Okay. Hmm.
So that's classic test question right there. That's why I throw that in.
I failed that
Okay.
one.
So, well, you're practicing, and it's not like yoga. We're actually practicing for like a test that
So
you're going to
so
take.
-3 is just not a part of it. Okay.
It's just there to distract you.
Okay. So 2x minus 1.
Okay.
X plus 5 and x.
Good.
So let's see. Minus 1. Okay, so 1/2
Okay.
and -5
Good.
and 0.
Okay.
And then we have 2, 3, and 1. And then finding out if it's like a cross or a touch.
You got it.
Okay, so for the first one, touch,
Okay.
cross, and cross.
Very good. All right. So back to your problem here. The next thing it asks for is the y-intercept. The
Okay.
y-intercept is putting 0 in for x. It's effectively finding g of 0. This 0 out in front tells you a lot. It tells you that it's 0 times whatever you get in here, which doesn't matter because 0 times anything is
0.
0. So don't let that be a distraction for you. Now, that's not a good question. And your teacher, I mean, you can only get so much out of like one question. And at your school, they try to like get everything out of one question, which is silly. Um, so let's do it for this one. This is a better question. What is the y-intercept? Which means I'm asking you to put 0 in for x. It is not 0 this time. You have to put 0 in, you have to multiply or add and then multiply.
Okay.
But give this a try, please.
Is it 140? Is that way off?
No, it's not way off. It ends up being -5 times 7 times -4, which is 140. Good.
Okay.
Okay, one more here. Could you define the y-intercept for us, please? Be careful with your signs.
Okay. Uh, let's see. -1, 1. So 3.
My favorite games is Family Feud. I wish I had the button, um, you're close. If this were multiple choice, 3 and -3 would be answers here. -1 squared is 1, then you
Yeah.
negate it. -1
Oh
times 3.
no.
All
Crap,
right,
I missed that.
that's okay. It's and Howie Mandeli's. I think it's how no. That's anyway. A very funny show if you when you get older. All right, we're gonna stop.